Okay, this is session one of our campaign of Heirs to Heresy, The Fall of the Knights Templar, a game by Alan Barr. Let's go ahead and just start with CATS. CATS is an acronym for Concept, Aim, Tone, and Subject Matter, as we all know well. So the concept of Heirs to Heresy is that you are one of the 30 Knights Templar who awoke on Friday the 13th of October in 1307, only to find themselves wanted criminals and branded heretics by the King of France. Abandoned by the Vatican and sent away early in the morning, you must leave Paris on a day of reckoning and try to find your way across a dark, mythic Europe to a mystical utopia where you can rebuild. The mechanics are a blend of narrative storytelling rules and classic adventure gaming inspired role playing rules that work to create rich, aspect driven characters. As Templar Knights, your skill at arms is unquestionable, but it is the potential access to Gnostic spells, unique powers, or intensely powerful faith that sets you apart from your compatriots. Can you tap into your potential guarding the mysterious Templar treasure on this last quest you will take for the Order and find the answer to the burning question: are the Templars heirs to heresy? This game was written by Alan Barr, and it requires 2 full sets of polyhedral dice to play, excluding a d20. Aim, the characters are elite warriors trained by one of the best fighting forces currently in existence. Their aim is to protect and escort the Templar treasure out of Paris to safety. Our aim as players is to keep the story moving forward, provide drama and excitement by interacting with the world, and work together to ensure everyone at the table is having fun. The aim of this first session is to create and introduce our characters, then learn the basics of how the game works through the introductory scenario, the flight from Paris. As for tone, Heirs to Heresy starts as a historical fantasy role playing game, but is heavily influenced by Gnosticism, European folklore, esotericism, and the myths and legends that surround the Templars. Throughout the campaign, there will be a sense of urgency as the enemies of the Templars, perhaps even the enemies of God, are never far behind. And some subject matter: real world religion, blasphemy, religious prosecution, occult imagery and themes, graphic violence and death are fairly commonplace in this setting. We are all familiar and comfortable playing with each other as a group, but we still make use of safety tools such as the X card, open door policy, and lines and veils. So we'll have a document about that, and that'll be a living thing that we can refer back to every so often. We'll talk more about those amongst ourselves on a break. Another thing, this game does not concern itself with historical accuracy. Heirs to Heresy uses history as a foundation for its stories, but it moves beyond historical fact to forge something new by layering mysticism, fantasy, and modern ideals on top of it. So that's the whole spiel, and we're gonna just dive right in. I in advance sent everyone like PDFs of the book, and we've had some people like skim and peruse it, and there are really cool, like interesting like tidbits in the book, like advice for players and like just kind of like historical context that's really concisely summarized, so it's not like you're studying for an exam. We're not going to go over all that here because I feel like the essentials are pretty touched on throughout the process, so there's just extra content that's fun to read. So before we begin character creation, I want to emphasize that this is a game of conspiracy, magic, and mysticism. To that end, one's place upon the gender spectrum is an irrelevant factor for admittance to the Templar Order. Faith, piety, martial skill, and the ability to live by the vows are what Templars value. Templars must be Catholic, but otherwise can be of any gender, ethnicity, or culture, and from any familial, economic, or societal origin. So yeah. Oh, there's a cat on camera. Hell yeah. All right. Um, so these characters that we're about to create are members of the Knights Templar. They are explicitly knights, so trained warriors. The game ensures that the player characters have at least a minimum level of competence with respect to combat. So that means that as you approach character creation, you should consider what sets your knight apart from the other warriors in the order. In essence, what is the other profession or adjective that describes your character alongside warrior? Generally speaking, these characters are younger knights who have been recently inducted to the Templar Order and housed in the stronghold in Paris. To make a Templar character effectively, we should first understand how the basic role mechanic of the game works. We'll get further into the details and nuances of the game's framework as we play, but understanding this up front kind of will let you make the sort of choices during character creation that will enable you to create the ideal version of your Templar. the basic test is the main resolution system in the game. In any risky, dangerous, or like challenging situation where failure is interesting and creates a good narrative, we trigger what's called a test, and tests can be called out by either myself, the GM, or players. And you just roll 2d10, add those two numbers together, and then you add the appropriate skill and attribute modifier. So 2d10 plus attribute plus skill, bam. And there's like a difficulty number that will be communicated in advance. You try to hit that. If you roll doubles on your dice and succeed, that's a critical. There are no critical fails in this game. So there's only critical successes. But that's literally the basic mechanics. All you're willing to understand is just you add skill and attribute to your dice rolls. And you can really use any attribute with any skill as long as you can argue, like convince me that it's a good choice. It's a good idea for the fiction that we're in. But yeah, that's the bare bones basics of the mechanics. So we're going to handle this next bit off recording, but I'll summarize what it entails. So we're going to have everyone think about the sort of Templar they want to play, answering some questions designed to help define the ideas. And then we're going to put the mechanical framework in place. We'll assign attribute scores and skill points, generate some of the derived statistics, and establish some personal details. We'll come back for the last step, which involves character relationships. So we are going to pause the recording. All right, now that we have made our Templar characters as individuals, it is time to generate their relationships with each other. So we're going to go around here. When I call on you, introduce your character, tell us their name, their nationality, explain their background a little bit, your general idea for them, as well as the sort of story you see unfolding around them. You're welcome to tell us what your attributes and skills are, but those aren't as important as knowing that your character loves German history and folklore or something like that. So give us something to play around with. Let's go ahead and just start in character keeper order. So Jazzy, introduce us to your Templar.
No. Yeah, I will be playing. I don't actually know how to pronounce his name, but I'll just say Elia. Elia Beaumain. Um, they are he, they pronouns. They were the son of a very prominent noble family, the Beaumains. But because of scheming in French and like the wars that aren't going great and the king needs some money and all that shit, they kind of fell in disfavor. And his father was basically like, so I don't think this is gonna end well for us. And they weren't like a lot of leeway that he could do politically without, that being the reason the family goes down. So he basically sent Elia to go be a Knight Templar because that kind of, cuts you off from the family in a way that hopefully was going to keep him safe, which worked for, I presume, a few years, and then this all happened. Um, I think they're like a little bit of a glory hound in that sense where they had like a noble upbringing and they're like kind and gallant and true, maybe sometimes in sort of that condescending way where they're like, like, aha, I have arrived to save the peasants. But like they mean well. I think, yeah, they very much saw this as an opportunity that even though they lost their noble standing to still keep on, like the family name and like all of that. And I do think that they're quite proud of that, even though they have to keep it a little bit on the down low because they don't want to repaint that target on themselves. But yeah, generally, I think he's like very much that image of like a gallant and true knight who, comes marching in on a beautiful horse, protects some innocent people, does a lot of talking, struggles a lot with that vow of chastity, but he's gonna do it. He's great. It only matters if you get caught, really, is the truth. Yeah, I think that's sort of the general vibe.
I'm into it. Awesome. Thank you. All right, Kevin, go next.
Sure. Keeping a trend with names that we're not really 100% sure how they're pronounced, we're going to go with Estevão Valente, um, Portuguese descent. I think there's a note in the book about captured criminals would sometimes be ordered to join the order. And I think he was a little street urchin, a little street rat, who was probably trying to steal stuff from the Templars at a very young age and was captured. He actually still wears there's a maybe it wasn't stealing from the Templars, but he has a brand burned into his skin from being captured. But part of his situation was being forced to join the Templar Order or something severely worse. But he joined at a relatively young age and uh, was quick to pick up book learning and helped out in the library and lore keeping, and all of that kind of rubbed off. That was several years ago, and well, maybe not several, but it was. He's no longer like fulfilling that narrative archetype of like the child that was the errant child. Now he's a fully fledged knight Templar, and still attached to books and learning, but also has a tendency to sneak around places and still has that quiet quality from people who grew up in that lifestyle. And yeah, I also moved some attributes around a little bit because that one crippling blow was a little rough. But quickness and intellect are Esteval's focuses for now.
I keep forgetting to unmute myself. Good to know. Awesome. And all right, last but not least, Ben.
I'm playing Torben Bjornsson. He is a Danish knight. His introduction to the Knights Templar came when his village was converted to Christianity, and he was inducted into the order mostly because he's really good at killing people, and he's also really good at pretending to care about Catholicism. So as long as he keeps doing that, it's all good. He has a focus. He's a versatile knight because, yeah, crippling blow. His focus is on might and vitality, and his skills, he's focused on battle and healing because it really helps to know how to put someone together when you're trying to take them apart. He is, I think he's very loud in general. Everything he does is loud. He is an excellent singer and he's always humming. He relaxes by maintaining weapons and he's missing an ear. I don't know if he's ever told anyone how that happened or why. He also has vivid nightmares, which I assume, being as loud as he is, everyone loves about him at night. So,
Thank you very much. All right, so let's go back around and we're going to establish some relationships. So you're going to ask a question to the table, and it's good if they evoke further discussion. The book provides some questions you can ask during this part, though you are welcome to create new or different ones. I will paste this here in the chat for everyone's reference. And the other player involved in the question must give permission for you to tie your two characters together. And each Templar character should answer two questions, thus forming a bond to two characters. And once everyone's happy with the result, we'll move on. Again, it's fine if this has a bit more of like a discussion element to it. You're welcome to like target someone specifically to ask them, or you can pose the question more broadly and see who answers. What we'll do is we'll just go around in two turns. So, we'll have everyone go ask a question, and then everyone go again and ask a second question. So everyone should be able to have at that point answered two questions. So Jazzy, we'll start with you. You're welcome to begin the process however you see fit.
Okay. Who has saved you in conflict or protected you from the consequences of a mistake you made? I mean, I can see if it's in battle, it's probably Torben. If it's more like, maybe I was gonna get caught sneaking out, or I was gonna get caught, like, I don't know, reading books in a section that we weren't supposed to be, then maybe it's Esteval. So I don't know if either of you feel like that would be a fun question for your character.
does that protection involve combat?
I mean, it could. The way my character is created, I'm not like I'm a average Templar knight. Like I don't have a lot of like extras in battle or anything like that. So I would have been okay in class, but I am a lot more projecting the image of I'm gonna keep everyone safe and I'm a super, super competent fighter than I actually am, I think. So maybe that's exactly what happened. Maybe there was like sort of this social thing where I had made a big deal of protecting peasants or something, but the fight was actually like I could not handle this group. Like maybe
Oh, like you
I
bit off more than you could chew. Like
yeah,
you
like
were
maybe
like brash about
they
it.
were like, "Oh, these raiders are like harassing these pilgrims on the road." I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'll save you all because I'm Elia Beaumont. Of course I'm gonna do it." And then I actually got to the group. I was like, "Oh shit, this is like 10 guys. I
And
can
then
absolutely not do
and then
this."
Torben came ripping through them like tissue paper.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, Ben, do you like that?
Yeah, it works for me.
Sick. That's fun. So that's
I like that.
so
Yeah.
you so definitely just like really painting the gallant image and then just uh just the blunt instrument that is Torben. I love it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um
And I think Torba I think that also means that you are absolutely aware that I don't think it's just that I'm not a great fighter. I think it's that I'm,
you're brash. Like you're
I'm
brazen.
brash and there's like a hesitation. Not that I'm scared that I wouldn't fight or that I'm a coward that I would run away, but more like actually killing people is something that like still gets to me.
Mm.
Like it's still like you probably like saw me a few times like I could have made the killing blow and I didn't. But you can't do that if there's like 10 guys trying to kill you, right? You can't hesitate. But I think, yeah, that there's like still something that keeps me from actually, whatever it is, if it's cowardice, like faith, whatever it is, right? But I don't think that I'm quite comfortable with actually killing people, which might
Mhm.
sometimes be a problem.
Oh, all right, good. All right, Kevin, for Estival, you want to ask a question out there?
Sure, I would love to ask a question. Um, hmm, let's see. Uh, I'm kind of interested by this. Who in the group constantly surprises you, and why do you keep underestimating them? Uh, and hmm, I kind of feel like it's Torben, and we've got two now for Torben, but I feel like maybe I'm wrong here, but uh Torben when in combat is like a totally different person, maybe. Um like because it's not quite like the character from Rick and Morty where it's like I just love killing. Or is it? Uh would you think that would be the case, Ben? Like is fighting and murder like Torben's identity?
So, hmm, I think it's a little more complicated than that because Torben's big secret, spoilers, is that uh, he's trying to get into Valhalla. This is what you do. You kill. You be a good warrior. It's not so much a considered thing. It's just how he is.
Hmm.
As a side note, I love the blend, obviously, because there's like a degree of like, you have to know your Catholicism clearly, and like you've literally sworn in all these like, actual religious practices. I love it when like there is a blending of like the religions where it's just being like, yeah, I'm not really all in on this, but like, it's God, but also Valhalla is still like, it's like I like the idea of him just having fit the like world conflicting worldviews to be what he needs them to be, which is cool.
Then I'd like to pivot that into I think the answer for the question, and that's that Torben is surprisingly faithful. And I keep underestimating him because it just feels like he's I think it's the lack of Catholicism, like either that or the performative Catholicism. Um, and I keep underestimating Torben because it's like, oh, actually, he does have thoughts about the afterlife. Um, and they're deep and poignant. Does that sound good?
Yeah, it sounds good for me.
I like that a lot. Awesome. Thank you. All right, Ben, your turn.
I'm going to open this up to both of you because I'd be interested in what you think who Torben's closest friend is between the two of you.
But what does Torben value in friendship? A talking partner or a sparring partner?
Drinking? Probably talking. I don't think he'd be. You're all so small.
Um, I mean, you did, I guess, save my life. So that is probably a good basis of us bonding. But I don't know. I think it would be fun because I think on paper it does not seem like Torben and Elia would be friends. Because we have like the like the intense killing machine and then like the aha, I am here now to save the day, but I actually can't fucking do shit kind of person. So it kind of sounds like they would annoy each other. So I think it would be cute if we support that and they don't, and they're actually pretty close. Maybe because they're so different. But I could also see you and Estevao maybe having a bit more like of an outsider vibe to the both of you that makes you close friends.
Yeah, either dynamic is interesting, right? Because it's like you
Yeah.
either have like the brash and gallant pretty man and the big hulking bodyguard friend, or you have the more bookish like one and the big hulking bodyguard friend. Like it's either one. It's a good
We're
pairing.
both your besties.
I'm okay with that. I mean, I feel like there'd be different things that both of you bring to the
Does this
table.
establish that like just like that Torben is just like everyone's best? He's a guy that everyone can get along with for whatever reason. Like
I like that.
amongst the Templars, like just everyone likes Torben. Everyone's his best friend.
That is so funny because that kind of brings it back to so nobody is really.
And it's a different like approach to the answer than y'all were thinking about, but like truly, I find that funny, but like in a cool way, where it's like having a character like Torben subvert the expectation by being like, I just kind of get along with everyone in the order. Like it's just like it's
And I feel like it kind of makes sense because if there's like one place where sort of being a killing machine isn't going to face people too bad, I feel like it might be the Knight Templars, Like that's not a bad quality to have. It's not a bad person to have as your friend, someone who can really make sure that the other guys aren't going to kill you, Like, sure, a peasant or a shoemaker might be like, whoa, little intense, but this is sort of what we do. So,
also I'm just thinking like Ben, this lines up really well with what you were just saying about his ideal way to die, which is like as a Templar, I mean, like you are. I mean, outside of Crusades, like still, it's like it's a life of battle in the Crusades and stuff like that. So it's like it's a warrior order. Like, great, these people are all going to die in battle. That's exactly the honorable way to go out. I'm in good company.
I like that. He's everybody's best friend.
So such a wildly different character than we first started out with. I love it though. I'm into it. That's awesome. All right, let's go back around here. We've had a lot of Torben focused stuff, so let's see what let's branch out. Jazzy, you want to pose a different question here?
let's see.
Almost feel like we need something to connect you and Estevao. So
Yeah, I'm looking for something for me and Estevao. It could be interesting. Um, would you be okay, Kevin, with the I mean, either I think Arrival is kind of funny because we've just established that we're like both besties with Torben. So I think it could be funny if we are then rivals, either, about Torben's affections or just in general. If not that, then I think the question, who in the group is smarter, more skilled, and more talented than they know, and why can't they see it? Um, and then I'm thinking like I have basically sort of been like you're the like how rich people will pick out like in a lot of stories you'll have like rich people pick out like one or two orphans or peasants that they like for whatever reason and be like I'm gonna educate you little child. And I feel like it's almost that dynamic of like oh I know that you've had like such a rough upbringing and stuff but now you're here and you can really live up to your glory and your full potential.
Both of those sound really fun. Rivals could be really interesting. Uh, if we want to do a little bit of like internal, even though we're Templars, our class warfare stuff should be well behind us, but what if it isn't? Um, and Esteval just like doesn't like Elia because Elia, they come from, money and even though they did give that up. So
Mhm.
um
Oh, that could be interesting. Like, is it more like you sort of hate me or like dislike me by default because you're like, well, you had an unfair start in all of this, so everything you achieve isn't like really
yeah,
something you achieve.
or it could also be like what they get out of the Templar Order. Um where like this was seen as a kindness for Esteval. Well, it was also a kindness for Elia. Because
Yeah, I
Elia
feel
also
like
was,
Elias is like sort of more, it's like kind of complicated because it saved his life, but also it did cut him off from, like, I don't know how magic and esoteric we want to make it, but I was kind of thinking like maybe my family kind of had like a Castlevania Belmont thing going on where they got like accused, where they maybe were once not Knight Templars, but sort of like their own thing. And then they got accused of, like black magic, witchcraft, whatever. And that's why Elia was like specifically sent to the Knight Templars
hmm,
to like both sort of to save me and to be like, look, these accusations can't be true. Our oldest son is a Knight Templar. Didn't work, but it was a good try. So yeah, I like the rivalry. I even like the class thing. I just want to be a bit careful because I don't want to make him like actually an asshole who's like, oh, you're poor, so like you
yeah, yeah, yeah,
can't. Yeah, yeah. I think there might be a little bit of an element of like, I'm gonna take care of you that
yeah.
might be like a little bit like well-meaningly condescending, but not like straight up like,
Then yeah,
you don't know shit.
I think
Yeah.
the second question that you posed, the smarter, more skilled, more talented they know, why can't they see it? And I think maybe to help out with that one, if we want to go that angle instead, it's because Esteval has that brand on his skin and just,
Hmm.
will continuously it's a his literal mark of shame. Um and so is a little self-depreciating as a result. Maybe we can go that angle.
Yeah, I like it. Because that almost like subverts it, right? Because that might make it come across like Elia is doing the, oh, I'm gonna show you the world, little peasant, but they're actually like, no, I genuinely just think you're that talented, and it kind of bugs me that you can see it. Yeah, I like that. It's really fun. I like what it says about Esteval too.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Let's go with that. Um, okay, Esteval, it's your
Is
turn
there
to
a way a place I should write this down? I'm
you
so
just
sorry.
take note. It's in the note section at the bottom. You can
Notes
write them
section.
down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Esteval, let's get something with I feel like we need something with Elias. You're welcome to like reframe these questions to be like not necessarily a who, just to be like to ask the circumstances around a thing that interests you. Because we had such like a Torben heavy first round. Just definitely give those some more threads over that way.
Yeah. So to continue linking Elia and Esteval,
Mhm.
um, hmm. Um, it's really funny because one of the questions is about who spends too much time on martial training and not enough on spiritual duties. And I feel like if anything, Elia is a bit the opposite.
I feel like they might not spend much like time training or studying in anything. And I think that's partly because they're like, as a noble, I already know this shit. Like, come on, please. And partly because they're not infested. Like he wants to live, so he has to be a Knight Templar, but he isn't really, it's not like he doesn't believe, but he definitely doesn't believe.
Yeah. So I think that question right above that is who in the group doesn't take training seriously enough in your eyes? And I think it's Elia.
Yeah.
That's
Why does that
interesting.
bother you?
So when you say, I'm just curious because again, the mechanical aspect of it is not as important, but I want to lean on that. So for someone who is Faith 3, Elia, like what is because you say like not much of like a lot of belief. Is that like where do you see the like still being someone of like higher like strong faith, but not necessarily being, I guess, like pious or devout about it? I don't know. Like, I'm curious about this.
Yeah, I think it's just sort of where, like, I'm French, so that's just sort of how the
Oh, just
world is.
baked in, yeah.
Yeah, like, like that's how I grew up. Like, it's just like just in like a lot of little things, like God bless, we go to mass every Sunday. Like we do all those things, but it's not like, and I think especially for like nobility, it was also very often like sort of a way to explain your nobility and your right to do this too.
Divine mandated,
Yeah, like so there is like a part where they're just like, well, this is just the world, but I think it's like the Knight Templar bit. Like they're not convinced that we need to
Sure.
go to the Holy Land and like fight a bunch of battles there, like really far away. Like, sure, we should help pilgrims. We don't want anyone to be attacked on the way. And it's like a very good thing to use to persuade people. Like, if you need someone, throw in, oh, God wants it this way,
Yeah, it very much. There's a character in the game, Pentiment, that I'm reminded of, who it's like I forget his name off the top of my head, but it's a monk, right? He's kind of an asshole. Where it's like, yeah, it's like I'm a monk because I was kind of like forced to do this, and this is my life now, and I am very vehement. I believe in God, and I follow Him and all that, but I kind of fucking hate it here.
Yeah, I think that's sort of Elia's
It's sort of the vibe where it's like,
yeah,
it's like, because one of the things I noticed in like the faith description, it's like, if you want to be sure in your place in the world and in heaven, it's to like, it feels almost cocky to be like, yes, obviously I'm a French noble. It's like, I know my place in heaven and earth and all that.
exactly.
But also I just don't, it's the organizational structure. They're just like, this is fucking, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think Elia's vibe is more like, this is how the world is a structure, but they're not like, it's not like sort of this like, oh God, please forgive me my sins, and like I need to pray to God because I hope that I can be worthy enough of a place in heaven. It's more like, yeah, of course I'm
It's like,
worthy
I'm
of a
worthy,
place in
yeah,
heaven.
obviously,
Like,
yeah.
have you seen me? Have
Talking
you
about
met
it.
me?
I like it.
Yeah.
I want to humble this man.
Never.
Oh yeah. So anyway, sorry, to interject so long, but circling back to the original question and what y'all were discussing.
Yeah, I wonder, why does that bother Estevao that I'm not taking it seriously? Why is that something that you've noticed and that you've like picked up on?
Because I feel like that is so the common link between us is that the Templar Order gave us a way out of a much worse situation for each of us respectively. And so Estevao sees the Templar Order, sees being a Templar and being inducted as a Templar as this like this lease on life, this gift. And if Elia's been open about their origins and background, then yeah, I think Estevao would be like, why are you not like being more thankful? Like it's very much like the there are starving kids in Africa kind of argument.
Yeah.
Only in this case, about the training and the payback to the gift that being a Templar has given them.
Yeah, you see me get a second chance and you feel like I'm squandering it, like I'm not taking it. So yeah. I don't think that Elia, I mean, like, for like character introduction, I'm laying it on pretty thick, but I don't think that they're going around being like, oh, I'm a noble, pa pa pa. It's just like they kind of assume that you know. And I think that their family was made like a very public spectacle of, because I think that the king was already kind of ramping up to get money where he could. And I think that they were like a very rich family. So they were like kind of made an example of, maybe to scare other rich people into just paying up so they don't get killed the way the Bulmaz did. So it would have been known. I mean, like they have the name and people knew that he was the oldest son. But I don't think it's something that he is like bringing up left and right. Maybe I'll see how I play it. But yeah, you would definitely know either way.
Sure.
Fun. I like it. And let's just get another thing out there from Torben, just to throw another last one into the mix. Whatever you want to. Again, you can angle this one towards either Esteval or Elia, and whatever you want to throw into the mix here, just to close us out.
I think I'm going to aim it at Esteval because I already have something kind of direct with Elias. What kind of debt do I owe you, and can I ever pay it off?
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh boy. I don't know.
If you're cool with that.
Yeah. I just don't know what kind of a debt Torben could ever owe Esteval. I mean, if it's combat, then like Esteval probably sniped a target that was coming up on Torben, but that's like the only thing I can think of, and also kind of
I feel like it's more interest. Yeah, if we can like find the unlikely situation, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be the more interesting one.
What if Esteval caught Torben worshipping in the old ways, the old Norse gods?
Practicing pagan stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would kind of make sense because Esteval also has a faith of +0. So he's actually the least faithful person in the group. So like dogmatic
kind of makes sense with how crappy he grew up. I would also not be like, yay, thank you, God.
Yeah. And so just didn't rat him out to the Grandmaster.
Yeah.
A debt of silence.
No, I really like that. That faith +0 is very interesting. Especially with intellect +4, faith +0. So yeah, I feel like if anyone would do that, it would be Esteval.
Right? Because like the whole thing with like the faith score is that it's, in addition to just being like a thing of like willpower, it's this like belief in like the greater powers of the universe and like the certainty and the placement of like heaven and all that. And for someone who's like very like intellect heavy, and you kind of like they're leaning into someone who's like done maybe a lot of like reading, it's like there's such like a broad spectrum of like different cultures and beliefs and religions out there. It's almost like you have this like focus on the cult, like the absorption of knowledge, but it's like how could you be super faithful? It's like you're leaning, you're very much surrounded by like different conflicting ideologies, and you don't know where you fit and fall on that spectrum, even though you're like Catholic. It's
also, even though we haven't unlocked it at the start, there is magic and esoterica in this world. Is that readily apparent at the start of the game? Are there?
No, we're going to basically be starting in a world that it seems very much like it's like it's real. Like it's going to be like, when getting into the esoterica and stuff of this game is going to be like, diving into the secret world. Like it's going to have a degree of like, we're going for, in the game terminology, a very mystical campaign, which means that like magic and shit's going to just be fucking everywhere and evident in the campaign. But the world is not colored by that. It truly is that sense of like, okay, like this is a historical setting, but as we're about to like see like whole other shades that like is unseen by the common populace,
Cool. Yeah. And then I still think Yeah, I still think there's just not a whole lot of faithfulness in Estevao. The books that he tends to read in the library are more
Mhm.
secular in origin.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I'm curious how he discovered that Torben was practicing and showing reverence to other gods. Was it looking for stuff in the library, or was it like out in the wilderness and camp somewhere?
Yeah, I imagine he would have taken some effort to not be discovered. He'd gone for a walk and would have been. I'm not very clear on how this. Probably a sacrifice of some kind, some animal that is definitely against Christian teachings.
Yeah.
Does Estevao speak Danish? Just from proximity of Torben, like maybe like a few words, or does it's like just blank on that?
Um for funsies, let's say there's enough books in the library in Paris, the Templars library in Paris, that like
Yeah.
he'd have a rudimentary knowledge.
I imagine as part of that scene, you could just, in addition to what Ben described, easily of like you can catch a few words in there, and one was certainly probably the word Odin, like and naming like pagan gods.
Yeah, actually, so I think I have a +3 in religion.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so
No,
you're
plus
knowledgeable. Still, you're knowledgeable.
yeah. Um
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he would recognize, the name of the All Father, and or Thor or any of them. Yeah. What I don't want though is I don't want this to be like a blackmail situation. I think it's a genuinely like, nah, dude, I I don't. There's that wonderful line from the Knight Hospitalier in Kingdom of Heaven where he's like, "I don't put
Yes.
stock in religion. I've seen too many. I've seen too many people die in the name of God and heaven." And so I think that would be Esteval's position as well.
And I like the way that, because the question being like, like, can I ever repay it? Well, it sounds like to Esteval's perspective, it's like, no, you're fine. But like Torben is like, maybe carries this kind of like, this like shame, this weight of being like, it's like, I don't, where it's more significant to him than to Esteval, possibly. I don't know, Ben, I'm not sure how you feel about that.
No, I like that because that would almost certainly be like at the very least excommunicable
Yeah.
offense, at most an execution. So there's a life debt there.
Yeah, I like that.
I like it a lot. Fuck yeah. All right, we've formed a little fun web of relationships here. And are there any other like questions or comments before we move on? Because before we jump into the starting scenario, the flight from Paris, we'll take a quick little break, but we're about ready to dive in. Awesome. Then let's take a short break. And when we come back, we will begin our first session in full. All right, we begin. You are all Knights Templar. You've spent the last several months with your fellow knights at the Templar stronghold in Paris. Your daily routine consists of prayer, training and horsemanship, martial and physical disciplines, theological study, and some small time for personal pursuits. On Thursday, the 12th of October, 1307, you went to bed after the evening prayers, tired and ready to rest well for the following day. You're likely hoping to draw patrol duty around Paris, a job the Templar Order often fulfills in order to relieve some of the burden of the city watch. It's a good chance to stretch your legs, eat some food not served in the stronghold, and enjoy being out in the city streets. You awaken to the sound of panicked shouts and clanging steel. Templars are yelling, and frantic feet run through the halls of the Paris stronghold, and you, newly anointed and trained knights, are unsure what's going on. A quick look around tells you it is still dark out. The sun hasn't risen. This is too early for morning prayers. What's going on? You don't have windows from your quarters to the outside, so you're going to have to investigate. We begin. These are shared rooms, by the way. You have a bunkmate, and so two of you share a room. One of you is awakening, and your your bunkmate is already gone. So which two of you share quarters at the stronghold?
I would say Torben and Esteval, maybe, because maybe that's why you noticed that Torben was like taking a long time when you found him doing like his pagan stuff. Like maybe it was like sort of that tipped you off, like maybe I should go see what he's up to.
Mm.
That works for
Sounds good to
me.
me. Yeah. Yeah.
And
All right,
also
cool.
maybe I have like slightly nicer ones because I'm fucking rich.
Mhm. Yeah, then let's first focus on on Torben and Esteval, since the two of you are awakening to this commotion, and you're both in the room. It's dark. The quarters are pretty slim, but all of your gear and personal items you might have, things like Bibles and crucifixes and etc., like are stored here. There is just a single stout, heavy wooden door that blocks you from the hallway where all of that commotion is happening. So immediately, as we focus on the scene with you two, what are you doing?
If it sounds like a melee, then it's well, Esteval is pretty quick, so I think I would get dressed in just barely what needs to and go look outside.
Yeah, like you can maybe like you're like half sliding your chainmail on as you go to the door. Templar training has like taught you guys to prepare before rushing headlong into a potentially dangerous situation. So you can easily like get all of your you can get your armor on. Like you're not going to be without anything. You can get all of your gear. Everything's on your character sheet. Like you're trained and you're efficient. So I think as you're like maybe like half getting it on, maybe in the background Torben is already like in motion of like just going through like lifting up like the gear and getting things out like while you go to the door. And you kind of pull the heavy door from the side out into the hallway. And the hallways of this part of the stronghold are just like very narrow, and it is dark, save for just like the flickering torchlight in the sconces. The hallway itself is made of like these thick, heavy masonry, well made, but clearly evocative of this place's original purpose as a wartime fortress. And the shadows make it a little hard to see what's going on in the hallway itself. Further away, just echoing through the space, you can just hear screams and cries and clashing of weapons, the distinct sound of steel on steel of battle.
Torben's gonna rush forward. This is it. This is what he's been waiting for.
You're out in the hallway already. Yeah, just
There's
like
battle.
immediately Esteval, just like you're still in the process of getting ready, and like when Torben just pushes by you, already like weapons in hand, fully kitted out. Looking behind you, Esteval, like what are, if any, like the personal affects you have in here that are not like Templar mandated gear?
I think he has a few books that he's borrowed from the library and been a little neglectful in returning.
Now, my question to you then is, looking at those books, do you take them with you or do you leave them and just take your gear?
I think he has one book in particular. I don't know what exactly it is yet, but there's one that like he reads before going to bed. And it's quite a good one. So yeah, he takes it with him.
Okay.
But the others get left behind.
In the same corridor, maybe a few doors down somewhere, is Elia's room, which I think maybe your door is already like ajar, and like you were awoken and disturbed by the same noises as them, but like distinctively like the sound of whoever, whichever member of your order shared this room with you is already out and gone, like ran down the corridor, so you're behind. I mean, like, what do we see of Elia? Because you come from a different, like, whole social background entirely. Do you have like significant personal effects that you keep in here as well that the order has allowed you to keep?
That's a good question. Um, I think it's like it's not like adorned or anything. It's like the same like look, but we can see that my family has like absolutely chipped in to like basically give me nicer stuff of everything. Like I'm like in my I don't think it's a shift for men, but whatever, like my underclothes, whatever. But you can clearly see that this is like fine material. Like this wasn't given to me by the order, this was taken. It's like very fine material. The same with like, just like my general demeanor, you can see that I have money to kind of keep it up. And there's like this annoyance at the door where I'm almost like, oh, Joffrey's done it again. Just fucking lift me, this brick. And then it sort of like starts assembling like, oh no, this sounds different than usual. And I will also immediately sort of like start to get ready. And as I'm starting to realize like, oh, this is a fight that's going on. This is somebody we're fighting. Can I say that I assume that we are all very aware of like the layout of this whole thing,
Yeah, you guys know
right?
the stronghold pretty well, even for like
Yeah,
relatively
exactly.
new people. Yeah.
Then my first thing would basically be to I want to get to like higher ground so I can observe and then start to either evacuate people if need be
Mhm.
or like start shouting commands on where we need to like basically I want to do the I'm gonna be the strategist on the hill
Yeah,
thing.
like
Is like
already
Elias's first mind. Like
you're
I'm not gonna fight, I'm gonna
you're in your like
direct.
you're basically your 90 and just already
Yeah.
like your mind enters this like leadership stance of like
Yeah.
tactical. You don't even know what's really going on here. You can't see
No,
anything,
no.
but your mind enters this place.
Immediately I'm like higher ground and then I will know what's going on, but I'm not like rushing out there like a dumbass, you
Right.
know?
I assume like you're going through all this as you're like
Yeah,
putting
yeah, yeah, like
armor
as
on, like
I'm
gear, like going through the checklist. Torben, I know you were pretty like brazen, like headfirst running out there. Would you know to like if you heard noises coming from Elia's room, would you like looking in there as you're moving down the corridor?
Oh yeah, Elias
Yeah.
is his best friend.
So I mean, you're in the middle of getting things on, and this
Yeah, I think you see me grab a golden locket that I have this crucifix that I wear over and I'm still wearing it as I sleep, but I have a locket that I will put underneath my clothes that I was hiding under my pillow. I put it
so
on there.
in the early morning gloom and the chaos, like the door was already ajar and it's these heavy things, so even as it's like pushed aside slightly, it makes noise. And with the guttering torches and the thick shadows in the hallway, you just see a hulking frame lurking in your door.
Sword up and I'm scrambling back.
Do you know what's going on?
Oh God. No, of course I don't. I just woke up. Do you know what's going on?
Why would I ask? And then he's gone.
Thank you, that was helpful.
He doesn't say anything. He just
Yeah.
keeps
Yeah, no,
walking.
I'm like getting ready. I thought it
I
was like very
assume
much like I just wanted the last word.
I assume moments later is when Estevao is also in tow of like and coming by. You can all get geared up and like out into the
Yeah.
hallway. So I think we cut
I'll
to go ahead.
I think I'll try to take Esteval with me to higher ground because I know that you're primarily a distance
Yeah, I
fighter.
think we cut to just like now that you're all geared up and you're out in the hallway, you're moving down. Like the corridor is very narrow, so you're kind of like moving like single file, and you have this plan in motion. The corridor here basically just runs north and south, and to the south is unmistakably a fire. Like you can see like that's a brighter flickering light. You can almost hear the crackling flames. You can smell smoke. And that's where the living quarters are, like the rest of the living quarters. There's a fire coming from there. The north end of this passage leads to the courtyard and like stables area of the fortress, and that is where you hear a lot of shouting and specifically other Templars yelling for reinforcements. What do you do?
Torben's going to reinforce. This is his this is what he lives for.
So Torben's already like shouldering to the front and moving north. Do Estevao and Elia follow in behind him?
Would there be like in that direction a place where I could get higher ground and see
It's
what the
more of
hell's
like
going on?
it probably that's probably the direction that like leads you to like more of like a broader, wide open part of the fortress because it leads to the courtyard and stables. Whereas like the rest of the living quarters, that's not particularly higher up. So like it's as good of a way to go as any. The Paris stronghold is like a very tall castle-like structure, and so probably going out into like the more open spaces gives you the more accessible points with which to go to different parts of it. You assume, just given the chaos of what's going on.
I assume we also sort of in the chaos see like people, like everybody sort of woken up and is like running
Yeah, like
around. Okay.
yeah, like you're out, like you're the last ones here, like everyone's gone. Like
Okay.
yeah, no one else is around you right now. You just hear shouts.
If Torben's going north, I think I'm probably going north as well.
All right.
Yeah.
And
I'll follow.
I have a better idea for a personnel effect.
Oh yeah, totally.
I think Esteval's been feeding a little black cat, and scoops it up, and just like puts it on the shoulder. But I think when we get a little bit closer to the melee, it's going to be like put the cat down and like go find someplace safe.
Oh, does the cat have a name?
Well, we're workshop something.
We're workshopping it. I love it. Okay, cool. Yeah. So then the three of you move forward, single file down this very narrow, tight corridor past the torches, coming to a door of solid, sturdy oak, worn, having probably defended this stronghold for decades. The iron hinges of this door are very like strong and like well made, the mark of a true craftsman. And it that's where the shouts for like reinforcements are coming from. This door like this is the direction to go for the courtyard and stables. And Torben, as you're like going to probably just like push through and move forward, the door is jammed. Something has like it's either barricaded or it's not locked. It's just it's stuck on something, and it's going to need a bit of effort if you want to shoulder this. As this is getting set up, however, Elia, Esteval, coming from the direction you just came, it's quiet, it's distant, but unmistakable. The sound of running boots just slapping against the stones, making it this way. What do you all do?
Brute force the door?
Torben's going to try and force the door.
All right,
I
absolutely.
think while they force the door, Elia, assuming that from that direction can only be like allies, is like not too far away, but kind of going to like see what the hell is up so we don't get ambushed in the back while they get the door open.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, so you kind of like step away for a little bit and go back to glimpse down the hallway while Torben's working on the door here. We're going to get our first roll of the game here, our first basic test. Our first test, which this is going to, again, so what we're going to do for this one, I feel like it makes sense to use might and athletics for this because you're trying to like force a door down. This will require effort, which means it's a difficulty 15. So you'll roll 2d10s and add your might and athletics to the total. If you get 15 or higher, you succeed.
Important question.
Mm-hmm.
Is this an obstacle related to mass military engagements? Because then I could use battle.
Oh, interesting. I mean, yeah, as I literally said, this is like a stronghold door. And the battle skill is for like executing tactics and tactical knowledge. I mean, I kind of like that. I kind of like you using the idea of like approaching this more from like a door standpoint. Like as an actual like battlefield obstacle. That's fun. I like that. Yeah, I can say you can use battle instead of athletics. And I think just like the consequences of failure here, this is the kind of situation where I think you could like, effectively you could retry it, but it's like, it's lost time. Like, if this obstacle holds you up, like things are going to happen because whatever that group is advancing, which I'll talk to Elia about here in a moment. But the consequences for failure aren't immediately perilous, I'd say.
Can Esteval and or I aid?
Great question. So aiding rules in this game are very friendly, but in this situation, no. Generally with aiding, we have to factor like whether this is a thing that you would have to aid with a hands-on approach or like some other kind of distance, because the corridor is so narrow in its single file, another Templar couldn't get up against the door to help Torben move it. So it's really just him up there. So no aiding here, but keep aiding in mind for the future. That's a great
Can
question.
I argue though that because I'm taking away one obstacle of like whatever's happening is coming towards us, it's not going to bother Torben because I'll be taking care of it.
I
He
think
can like fully give all of his focus and attention to this obstacle rather than also being distracted.
I like your argument. If the task required more focus, I would say yes. But because this is truly just brute force, it's not an immediate aid. But good
Fair
go.
enough.
All right, so go ahead and make us a roll, Torben.
2d10s.
Plus your might and battle.
Do we have a
no,
roller
we don't
somewhere? Just okay.
You can just grab whatever die roller you want to use.
That is 18.
Hell yeah. How do you get this door down? Like, what is your approach here from a more tactical mindset?
So the tactical mindset is he's going to use his sword, but not to chop through, but to jam it into the hinge and then lever it until it breaks open, just cracks down the middle.
Oh, hell yeah. I love that. I would, you know what, front load, whenever we're setting up rolls, be sure to give me some stuff like that, because I might want to give you like situational advantages because of those approaches. I like that. But the door just like, it just like cracks and like comes off its hinges. As Elia, you can see that behind you is they're handling the door. You look around the corner and just coming down the hallway, there's still like it's a long corridor, so they're a bit of the way off, and they can only march in single file. Not Templars, not allies. It looks like a group of French soldiers, just pretty like rank and file. All it's like wield. They visibly wear the heraldry, the symbols of the king, and boots marching down. You see them coming, and then you hear the door be brought down by Torben.
Have they seen me yet?
No, you just kind of glanced around the corner, you said.
Okay.
And again, like the shadows and the flickering torchlight makes it is an advantage for you.
Do you feel like it's an inside roll for me, or do I just immediately clock like, oh, they're hostile?
You
here
immediately clock they are hostile. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah. Like, it's not an inside roll to see like, wait, why are they here?
No,
What is
no.
happening? Okay.
Yeah, like absolutely not. Like that is a situation where it's like it is immediately clear these are enemy combatants just by the way that they are. Maybe even some of them have like flecks of blood on their padded uniforms, or maybe even a few of them just like clearly have that vibe where it's like this is the enemy, which
I think we see
very confusing.
Something like dark and stormy come over Elias' expression, because French soldiers were also the ones that dragged his family out, kicking and screaming, and he has been a prisoner here, pretending to be all faithful and good for the French domain, but there is a hatred there, a need for vengeance, and now they are hostile, so nobody could hold that against me, can they?
I'd say
and I will
go ahead.
No, I think I sort of like blend into the shadow, and Estevao is presumably somewhere nearby and is our distance fighter, and I will say, oh, looks like the soldiers have finally got it out for us. And I point at, presumably there are like torches lit and stuff and curtains and whatnot. And I'll point at a few of those, basically signaling Estevao if he can take those out, maybe we can sort of light them up in the hallway or severely hurt them before they even get to us. And it's like a cruel thing to say, but it's also an effective thing to say.
I was gonna throw out there, Estevao, that since you were kind of like in the middle of the posse here, and as Torben's like bringing the door down, great, the way is open, shouts for reinforcement, and like you turn around and like Elias is just like standing there on the corner with like a shadow over his features, and clearly is like and like levels it to you, and it's like the boots are getting closer, the shouts for reinforcements are like still coming, and it sounds like more chaotic. Like clearly Elia is stuck in this moment right now. What do you do?
If Elia is looking like distant and stuck, then I think it's a grab and go. Like, yeah, we all have our own personal stuff we have to deal with, but standing still is not an option in this case.
Mm. I like that you're like dragging me as I'm trying to get you to be like, no, I have a strategic thing, but you're like already dragging me out.
Yeah.
I love the idea that as you're all coming out, like into the following chamber, like wanting to continue. Torben, you're still like moving towards the sounds of reinforcement. Yeah, this is a little comical, but I feel like it's the vibe. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Is Torben the kind of guy who, after he's taken the door off his hinges, and then just now, like knowing that there's like people coming from that same direction, just puts the door back and wedges it back in the frame?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Just big man, like lifts the door and just like shoves it in there just to buy you guys a little bit more time.
I mean,
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
otherwise we're just gonna get attacked from the back, right? Two fronts.
I dig it.
What was blocking the door? Do we know?
Oh yeah, you can easily see that. It looks like it was some like collapsed, like not like structural stuff, like a shelving unit had like fallen forward and like wedged itself like right in the door frame, and you actually like splintered part of it off when you shoved your way through. But like looking around the immediate room, it's not like the door doesn't open to the stables and courtyard. It's just like the next room that's on your series of walks over there. This place is like in a bit of chaos. You don't see any like signs of like physical violence. You don't see any blood, but like tables are overturned, a few shelving units fallen, like papers scattered across the ground. Like this, like something came through here, and you have not seen anyone yet. But you guys keep moving, and you're kind of already out of the room when behind you again you can just hear the sound of like shouting in French, and like it's like struggling and pushing up against the door that you just basically just wedged into the square peg in the round hole, just like shoved it in there, and that's at your flank, but you're moving forward, but your advance towards the increasing shouts and yells is halted, because as you guys turn a corner and into a room, you actually walk right into this chamber where there is a whole group of these soldiers that are between you and the rest of the way towards the stables and courtyard. It's like a group of like 24 French soldiers, all in their padded armor, metal caps, and spears. They see you three, and they point, and then distinctly in French, they just yell out, it's like, Templars! And they go in, they begin to like move forward. But even in their bearing, there is caution. There is like a sense of like, you're being in with a caged animal, like, you're Templars, you're a worthy opponent. So we're going to learn how basic mob combat works, because it's time to draw steel, baby. So mob combat is one of the two ways that you can resolve fights in this game. It basically is for any opponent that is of less significant skill than you, because you're trained fucking knights, and some French city soldiers are not going to be a challenge. Basically, any like enemies that are like relatively common, they're easy for you to defeat, and so it's like en masse. Like for every point of damage you deal to this mob, that is one of their members that is killed. So effectively, as we're narrating this is where you get to really have fun of big old taking out bunch of enemies scene. And mob combat is handled without initiative order. You act in whatever order you want. The mobs can only act when you fail to deal damage, and then they get to react with, that's like an opening that they get on you. So we'll approach that in the narrative as it comes up. Again, how do we want to handle it? Who is first to act? I mean, it feels like it's Torben. I was gonna say it's probably Torben throwing himself in there.
Yeah, it's Torben.
Oh, fuck yeah. All right. Well, here's how combat works. And you may take 2 actions on your turn in combat. I'm just going to paste this list here in the Zoom chat. It's a very short list. Those are the different actions you can take. You can take 2. Obviously, one is attack. You'll notice there's a when it comes to like positioning and like the set pieces in this game, we use zones, which I'll explain more when like we have a more dynamic setup. Right now, this is all taking place in one area. So anything that says like moving into an adjacent zone, there are no adjacent zones. It's here. It's like this is the room. We're just doing a pretty simple mob combat. So Torben, you are first to rush into battle. What do you do?
Let's go with so sorry, the zone difference.
Doesn't matter for this fight.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's all in one same zone.
I guess I start with an attack.
Oh hell yeah!
Big sweep of my longsword.
I love it. So this basic attack is your first action. You're gonna make an attack test. So this will be 2d10 and then plus your. Well, what weapon are you using? You said longsword.
Yes, and I'm going to go one-handed because I've got my shield.
Oh hell yeah! Shield. All right, cool. So you're gonna go ahead and roll 2d10 and add your melee attack bonus to it, which I believe is a plus 5.
Do I roll a d12 for?
This is.
Oh
this
no,
is,
that's for the damage.
Is,
right?
Yeah, that's for damage. This is just to hit them. And I'll let you know that the number you're trying to hit here is 14.
19.
Oh fuck yeah! All right, so now you'll roll damage for the one-handed longsword, which is 2d8. You get to add your melee damage modifier to it, which is +6. So
2d8.
bare minimum. Oh, sorry. No, a one-handed longsword is a d12. My bad. So
Sorry,
that means bare minimum, you kill 7 dudes right away.
That's 4 plus 6, so 10.
Holy shit. That's wild. And yes, if be sure to call out your dice roll so we know what you rolled, because if you get the same number on both dice, it's a critical. And things happen. Okay. They had, you said it was 10 damage? All right, they have and they have 3 armor, so they take 7. All right. So just go ahead and just narrate a little bit of this for me for this first immediate like launch into combat. And you're just like carving through like 7 guys. Like, go ahead and just narrate that a little bit for us.
I think as soon as Torben sees the group, he kind of drops his shoulders and he's grinning as he just charges in with his sword, his shield up, and just one sweep, a second sweep, and just is knocking guys against the walls if he's not slicing right through their armor.
Oh, hell yeah. What would you like to do for a second action? I don't think I've seen anything that says you can't attack again. Like, I think you can. I don't see anything that says you can only take 1 attack action per turn. Like, if you want to attack again, you're welcome to.
I think I'm going to do that. Yeah.
All right, fuck yeah. Give us another roll.
Sorry, that's 2d8.
2d10 for the first roll.
2d10. Yep. 2d10 is 14.
And then plus your melee attack bonus.
Plus melee attack, so 19.
Yeah.
And then a d12.
Yes, sir. D12 plus 6.
Which is 9.
Ooh. All right. It's another 6 to them. So, like, you had your first wave. What's the kind of like, I don't know, like this penultimate follow-up, or not a penultimate, wrong word. Just like, what is the follow-up here?
If I'm following them into that hallway, I can't do the big sweeps anymore. So I imagine he just kind of grabs his sword, steadies it, and just charges and spears through a couple of them, like a French night shish kebab.
Fuck yeah. Who wants to act next?
How many of them are left?
About like 11. Already their numbers have been halved by Torben Bjornsson.
Sure. I think Estavao is going to pull out his crossbow and shoot in the clearing between Torben and whatever physical obstacles are there. It's a
Mm,
target-rich environment. They are fish in a barrel.
very much so. Just pulling shots one after the other from the rear. Firing a thing in like not necessarily close quarters, but still like a confined space. But I mean, you got a kind of a Hawkeye thing going on here. I think that's sick. You want to go ahead and give us the 2d10 and then your range attack bonus?
Sure. So 1 in 10. So it's 11 plus my range attack bonus is 8.
Yeah, that hits. You're gonna roll for the crossbow. That is a D10 plus your range damage, which is a +8. Oh god, this is brutal.
6 plus 8 brings to 14.
Okay, cool. Would you care to just tell us how you like pick off every last soldier in here with like various shots and other little action shots here? Elias was at the back still scheming, I imagine, of the previous ones, but you get to really pull off the finisher here.
Yeah, we're in a so we left the hallway. We're in like a clearing, right? Or a open.
I got more open chamber, yeah.
Yeah. I think there might be some steps that that maybe go down from the door, just maybe like 2 or 3 to go into the hallway, and Esteval is just up there. Crossbows not normally known for their ability to fire quickly. But I think Esteval has figured out some way of doing so, and maybe it's actually more that he kills enough of them or fires into the ranks, and maybe the rest of them either like bug out or something, because killing 11 guys with a crossbow just feels like a lot. But yeah, pulls out the crossbow, fires like over Torben's shoulder, and it just goes right into one guy's face. And like as they're kind of charging at him, and Torben is doing the 300 slow-mo shot, there's just crossbow bolts just like flying past him, and any place there's like a negative space, Esteval is just sending quarrels downrange.
The room is at the end of this, like, just like filled with the corpses of these French soldiers. And Elia, I mean, like, you seeing this, like, what's going through your mind right now?
Yeah, I think sort of as soon as like Torben just like raced through them, I think Elia almost like stepped back, not in this like cowardly, I'm not gonna fight way, but very much again, sort of like the strategist trying to see like, okay, obviously they got discovered, so what can I do? I can already prepare our next step is sort of what Elia was thinking. So I'm like listening to what other sounds I can hear. I'm trying to get a layout, like where are we exactly? How are we going to go? And I think seeing these corpses, there is for a second again sort of that horror of like, oh right, this is not a fairy tale. These people are here to kill us if we don't kill them first. And my body might look like this guy, missing a limb, face half smashed in by Torben. And there is sort of that moment of mortality, but then there is, I think, that survival instinct that takes over, like, well, I can't think about that now. Now we need to move. Now I need to be smart because I don't want to be that guy.
So it sounds like you take a bit of the lead here in the aftermath of combat.
Yeah, I think I've sort of like immediately, like, I've spent that time basically preparing where we need to go. And I think I'm starting to realize that this is a run kind of situation. So I think I want to go to the stables and get
Cool.
just as many of us out as we can.
Yeah. You take point, and now we find the three of you, just moving away from this room. You're leading the way towards the stables. And you get out into the courtyard. There's a few bodies lying around. There's signs of a struggle. You're moving. You're getting to the courtyard when a figure comes into your peripheral vision, just like coming like out of the shadows, like stumbling forward. and it takes a moment. You see this older man, his beard streaked in gray, he has like long hair, a bit of like a balding top of the head, soaked in blood, and he is so covered in blood that it takes you a moment to see the red cross through his Templar tunic. This is Jacques de Molay, the Grand Master of the Templar Order. This is your superior. This is the man who runs the order. He staggers out. He is holding his longsword in one hand. It is slick with the ichor of fallen enemies. His eyes appear almost mad. He stumbles in the stable, his eyes darting to and fro. It's like adrenaline and rage pumping through him. He sees the three of you and he points and goes, You lot, follow me. We must get to the reliquary.
Sure.
Gonna follow.
Yeah, he turns and just goes fully in a different direction. You follow into step behind Demolay, and you've largely been seeing aftermath of battle, save for the encounter you just had. Demolay begins to take you through like the thick of what's happening here. All around you, you see, you're passing by Knights Templar engaged in battle with soldiers and knights wearing the livery of King Philip IV. The confusion is evident everywhere you look. The French forces are organized, but the Templars they appear shocked, struggling to put up an effective resistance. Where Templars are not surrendering, the French are putting them to the blade. Though, your brothers and sisters of the Templars are making a valiant show of it. Demolay is just moving past all of this in a fury with a single destination in mind. Do you continue to follow him, or do you stop it all and remark at the battle going around you?
We would call him just Grandmaster, right? Or
you can Grandmaster. You could call it. You could probably even call him Master Demolay, whatever you prefer.
Well, what is this, Master Demolay? What's going on?
He yells and he says, "A betrayal! But come, we're almost there." He roars out behind you, and his eyes survey the carnage, and he says, "This task is more urgent than the lives of your brothers. Come!" And storms forward. He actually comes around a corner and runs right into a French knight. He just smashes it on the face with the hilt of his longsword, barely pausing to gut the man before continuing to barrel up a short flight of stairs through a door into the chapel, the holiest place of the stronghold. As the three of you come in after Demolay, he stumbles, a little bit down the aisle past the pews, gesturing towards the door you just came from. He says, "Guard that entrance while I find the key. We have to get into the reliquary." And you can hear the sounds of battle coming from that direction. But, as you look back at the door, you see that there's actually a pair of French knights who are already arriving up the stairs, weapons drawn, not soldiers, knights of King Philip. And Demolay just roaring to just hold the door as he stumbles over towards a small door at the back half of the chapel, trying to get it open. This is now fearsome foe combat. This is the other way of the mechanic. This is where you are fighting a more significant opponent. In this case, actual trained knights of the king, notable individuals. And this is where initiative comes up. And we use an initiative token system where I'm going to put tokens representing the enemies in a bag and we'll draw them at random. I'm going to use these 3 light dice from my trophy set to represent our Knights Templar. And I will use these 2 dark dice to represent our French knights. I'm just going to put this in here, shake it up a little bit, and draw from it randomly. And while I do that, I'm going to vamp a little bit with mechanics. So when I draw from this bag, that will be who gets to go first. In any combat situation, if it's a mob, you guys always go first. But if it's a fearsome foe, then we're just all right, cool. We determine through this. And they get the same deal as you, 2 actions on their turn. And when I draw a Templar token from this, I will let you guys decide which among you that represents. And then you can have you'll just sit out for the rest of the combat until the next round. In regards to ammunition, because that's a question that popped up in the chat. For now, for this scenario, assume you have enough quarrels for whatever happens, and then we'll talk about ammunition down the line. And that's literally it. So I'm going to draw now and see what happens. Oh, almost forgot. Let me talk about how zones work, because zones, this comes into play. For this encounter, there are 2 zones. The front half of the chapel, where the door is and the 2 French knights coming in. The back half of the chapel, where Desmoulins is trying to open a small door. Those are the zones of combat. So anything that references zones, that's what that means. Zones are really whatever they need to be in the context of a fight. Like it could represent vast open spaces like a battlefield, or it could be like, small, like a bridge over a stream and, stuff like that. So we're just kind of using it to break down the field a little bit more, to like add a bit more of like the dynamic nature to this. So not looking in the bag as I just draw from this randomly. That's a dark die, French Knight. All right. Let's see here. I just get a sip of water because all that explaining. I will say this: the French Knight, as they're entering, pushing, coming towards the door to the chapel, it's evident their focus is on Desmoulins. Like they're not like sizing up to you 3. Like they're intending to move through you. They see you as an obstacle to get through if need be, but they're not focused on you. But I assume y'all are squaring up on these French Knights and you're trying to hold the door against them. So they are going to try and get through you. What, just to add a little bit of like the fiction here, when Desmoulins roared to like hold the door while he's trying to get into the reliquary and these knights are coming up in through it, what do the 3 of you do? Kind of like it's like the preface, the lead up to the actual fight happening, just so I know like kind of who is where and like what your approach in the situation is.
I imagine Torben's going to set himself up as close to the front, as close to the door into the chapel as possible.
Yeah, quite literally blocking the door. Hell yeah. I imagine Esteval's probably towards the back anyway. Like, and what about, where does Elia come into this? Because I mean, now you're squaring up with French Knights.
Yeah. Is it now like presumably big enough for me to like fight next to Torben, or would it like still be like one person?
No, I mean like Torben's big, but he's not, big enough to block the entire door to the chapel. So you can easily like get right next to him and the 2 of you are standing flank by flank to guard the door.
Yeah, I think initially like I was following Desmoulins because he literally just told me that this is more important than like the lives of the people that we've been training with for so long. And I think that while maybe a throwaway line for him made like a very deep impression on Elia, and sort of has him in almost like this holy mission mode where it's like, oh, the Grandmaster said this is the thing that we need to do. Like this is a direct order from the freaking Grandmaster. So I think they originally sort of like almost like bodyguard like positioned them, and then when the knights show up, I think we finally see him. I don't think that I had my sword, but sort of like more like I have it in my hand, but now I'm like drawing it. I'm doing like like that Aragorn thing where it's going like in front of my face, and I'm like striding up next to Torben and like actually getting ready. And there is a slight, not fear, because I'm brave, but there's like this like, all right, this is it. Like sort of that, like I'm standing here and I will not move until my dead corpse hits the floor.
Oh, that's fucking metal. So this one French knight who gets to act first has, sword out, fully armored, and you hold your sword fast, and he stops, and he takes this moment where he also like grips his sword, gloved hands like wrapping around the haft a little bit, and just setting his shoulders right. He's using his first action to prepare, which gives his next test an advantage, and then he moves forward to attack you. So I'm going to roll an attack test for this knight, and because he has advantage, I'm going to roll 3d10 and take the 2 highest, or the 2 best, because if you roll a critical, like if that's, you still have to succeed, but if you rolled like if your 2 highest numbers are not matching, but you have another number in the advantage that would match one of those other ones, and it's lower but it would still succeed, it's like, oh well, I'm going to take the critical instead because the critical is a better result. So there are
So
3D
if you have advantage, you can pick the dice.
Yep.
With disadvantage, you can't. And
basically,
all
yeah.
three would have to match. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. All 3 would have to match in the disadvantage situation. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I got you.
All right, that is a 5, a 2, and a 2. Well, it's 2 matching, but what is your defense, Elia? If you look over at your combat window, it should be
Defense?
yes,
16.
defense. 16. Well, they have a +6 to this, so they can't get a critical out of that. That's good. They rolled pretty shit though. That is 7 plus. Wow, yeah, they don't hit. So they do not roll higher than your defense. So full on, like you prepared, he prepared, he came in and swang, and it's just like swords clashing and like a full struggle. But that is his turn. All right, let me shake the bag.
I feel like there's almost like an element of them like seeing this like pansy-ass pretty boy being like, oh, I'm cool. And they're like, oh, shit. Okay, I see.
All right, I got a Templar. So who wants to go next?
Torben, take it away.
Yeah.
I'll go. I think I'm going to drop my shield. I'm going to go two-handed here. So that is 2d10s for 7 plus 5, 12.
12 is not enough to go against their defense. So were you aiming for the one that Elia is engaged with or the second knight that's approaching?
I was going to back up Elia, yeah.
Yeah, I think what we see is that, like, as you know, you kind of like go in to follow up while his sword is locked with Elia. But you know, these are trained, competent knights, and he is able to like sidestep, maybe even like shoulder out of the way to like leverage a bit of the fact that you guys are using a bottleneck, but he has a bit more of like, he can retreat, you can't, right? Like he can pull back, he can maneuver a little bit, cursing under his breath in French, and is a bit more wily than you anticipated.
He'll just kind of growl and retrieve his shield again to try a different tactic.
Yeah, you get a second action here.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, okay.
It's two actions, yeah.
I'll do it again.
Just
try again.
Lay the attack on thick. Go for it. Yeah, 2 attacks. I did not see any rules that said you can't do that twice. But if I'm incorrect, I'll correct it later.
That is a 11 plus 5, 16.
16 is the knight's defense. So you do indeed get through. You can roll your damage with your weapon.
Holding my sword one-handed, it's just a d12, and that is 8 plus
8.
6. 14.
14. Their armor is 7, so you do deal 7 damage to him, which is still nothing to scoff at. What is the advantage you seize here that did get a bit of like a combat advantage in here? Like they were able to actually like kind of like push back and give him and actually like maybe hurt him a little bit.
I think grabbing my shield again, I didn't just wield it to protect myself. I think I kind of body slam him with it and knock him off balance a bit and then strike with the sword.
I think that's fucking sick. And if you ever actually want to do that, by the way, like knock someone off, like knock someone like prone or something, I would consider that as like maybe like using a skill. That's one of the actions you can do, in which to shove someone over. There are rules for being prone, but I love that in the fiction. Absolutely. I think you just hear this French line just like mad and just like stumble back a little bit as I'll draw another token. I know like 2 French words, and that's one of them. So that's what I'll be having a lot of the enemies say.
What is the other one?
You'll find out. It's another Templar, though. So who's next? Elia or Estevao?
Elia, you're engaged. Why don't you
You're right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah, that probably makes more sense.
So yeah, you got this like one knight that you and Elia are, or that you and Torben are right on, and then there is this other French knight who is like, getting up, is like getting ready to come.
Yeah, I always love when like, teams or friends or like superhero teams, whatever, when they actually fight together. So like in the fiction, I'm imagining like, Torben, you're smashing and I'm like coming up. Like this isn't a oh, I'm waiting until you strike me. This is a you want me dead, I want you dead first. Like this isn't a moment to be nice about it. So I think yeah, I'll attack 2 for my first roll.
Oh, fuck yeah. Are you the one that you're right on with Torben, like double teaming it?
Yeah,
Oh, fuck
let's
yeah.
do
All right.
that. Let's just
So,
take out someone.
yeah, 2d10 plus your melee modifier.
Okay. That is, wait, I'm gonna copy it because y'all not gonna believe me.
Oh?
Double 10 crit.
Ooh, spicy. Well, do you know what happens when you crit in combat, Jazzy?
I don't.
You double your total damage.
Okay.
So go ahead and
Yeah.
roll your damage, add the modifier, double it, and then I do damage reduction.
Okay. Roll damage.
Mhm. This was with your longsword?
Yes.
And you were doing
I
this
assume so.
two-handed
Yeah.
or one-handed?
I narrated like holding
Yeah,
it
so
like this, so
yeah.
two-handed.
2d8.
2d8.
Yes. Then you'll add your melee damage bonus, which is +3. And then you'll double that number.
2d8. That's an 8. So 16 plus 3
Oh, no,
for.
you factor, this isn't 5e rules. It's like the +3, add that to the total, then double it. So it'll be like a +6 by the end.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah. So it's 18 plus 6 effectively. Yeah.
Yeah, 18 plus 6 for 24.
24. Okay, cool. So even with damage reduction, you kill this French knight. So, like, what does that look like? You get the little superhero moment you narrated. Like, you get to kill this guy. Take it away.
Yeah, I think we see, like Torben, I assume, you're just like sort of wailing on this guy, just trying to get that damage in. And we see, like some of the armor is like getting dented and chipped with the damage that you did. And then you are like, they are blocking you because you're like so relentless about it. And I think up until now, like nobody's really like I'm a trained knight, sure, but like Torben's obviously the bigger threat, right? And I think like they are holding another attack, and I just move, and it's almost like a dance. It's beautiful and graceful, and the sword just slashes through the air. There's like the beat of silence, and then the head just squashes and
Fuck
drops
yeah.
to the ground as blood begins to spur, and the body just with a loud thunk
Oh, that's
falls.
fucking rad. That was your first action. You do get a second one. You got this other knight squaring up on you. So you'll notice that some of these actions you can take in combat are like good stuff for like setting up like your next turn, like defend or parry or like stuff like, or like, stuff like that.
I think like as metal as it is, I do have a moment of like, oh, I just fucking killed the dude. And that's not, I don't love that, honestly. I have a question about defend because I just kind of
Yeah.
want to play with what we have. It says you suffer the full effects of the hit as though you were the original target, and then it says regardless of the original attack roll against your ally.
What that
What
means
does that
is
mean?
so basically if this French knight targeted Torben, right, and
Yeah.
rolled to hit him and succeeded, but you were defending, even if his roll may have been like lower than your defense, you take the hit from Torben to yourself.
Right,
But,
because
yeah,
my defense is 16, but Torben's might be 14, then
Yeah, and
basically
it's-
I'd get hit on a 14.
exactly, because you're taking the
Okay,
hit for
okay.
him. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, no, that makes sense. But it doesn't actually help him not get hit. It just means that I take the damage.
Yeah, it just means you're covering him and you'll defend him if he takes damage.
Okay.
Yeah, to prevent yourself from taking damage, I think that's parry.
That's parry.
Yeah.
You can also prepare.
True.
2.
So many choices.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of
You're good.
I think I'll prepare.
Okay, cool. What does
Because
that look
I
like?
think we still have Estevao who's also getting ready. And presumably the door hasn't opened yet. So I think, yeah, we just feel like we see that movement, we see the sword, and then I think we sort of see again, like I'm falling back and I'm like now getting the space. I'm like almost without words, I'm like just nodding at Torben, and we just kind of take more space. We use this body between us almost like as extra movement because now you have like a corpse that you would need to stand on, which is not super great to fight on. And now like basically positioning us in like a better way than we were before when we were just like, ah, fuck it, close the ranks, fight this dude. Like I'm now basically getting us so that we are perfect to aid each other's blows and like have sort of that double whammy.
I fucking love it. All right, 50% chance of either Esteval or the second knight. So let's see what we get. There's 2 tokens left for the round, and it's Esteval.
Right. So the second knight has also entered the chapel then?
Yeah, is entering. I mean, like, I
Yeah.
imagine that, like, you know, Torben and Elias are doing this really good job of like holding the fucking door, right?
Yeah.
But whatever you want to do, I'm open to it.
No, it's I think I'm just gonna go ahead and start shooting. Just start sending quarrels down at this guy. So attack test.
Sure. Would you say, by the way, that you are in the zone, the front half of the chapel with the door, or you're back by?
No,
like,
I'm keeping the Grandmaster. I know
You're
he
on-
said like hold the
yeah.
door, but Elia and Torben are physically covering that pretty well.
Yeah, you're on
so,
Demolay's back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I'm trying to keep as close to Demolay as possible.
Sure.
Obviously without hindering him, but in case ninjas fall out of the rafters right next to him, I'll be right there hopefully to defend him. Because we never know what would happen. Maybe there's ninjas. Those dastardly French ninjas. Yeah, so I'll just take I'll just attack the other knight with a crossbow.
Go for it.
8 and 4 is 12 plus ranged attack is 8, so that's 20.
That hits. That beats the defense.
Okay. And crossbow is we'll figure this all out. It's D10. 7 plus 8 is 15.
All right, so he takes 8 because he has the armor. He soaks 7 damage. So 8, yeah. You're firing a few bolts. I mean, I feel like that's like from Torben and Elia's perspective, right? Like they have this other knight who's in the throes of it, and it's easily deterred from trying to like shove past this barricade because it's she had like fucking quarrels like flying out, striking like stonework and all that, and like a few even find purchase. Like is this shot particularly impressive of Esteval, or how do you see that playing out?
I mean, I feel like it almost has to be. If these are French knights, they're in probably heavy armor, so to be able to punch through that is more about finding the right gap. And it might even be like, you know, Esteval is, because Esteval's smart. I think he waits for like, he knows the French often, they like their top down cuts. They like their top to bottom, high low. But when they do that, their armpits are exposed. And those don't normally get armored. And so he's waiting for the right moment to shoot. And he just like, finds a spot right under the arm to do some damage.
I fucking love it. All right, I am. Oh, you second action.
Let's just keep it going. Why not?
Just keep firing. Okay, sure. The knight's next. He's the last token in the bag.
That's double 6. So it's
shit.
12 plus
I think it's 8 for your ranged attack.
Yeah, 12 plus 8 brings it to 20 again.
That is a hit and makes it a critical. Oh, and by the way, every time you roll a critical, you get an advancement point. So I totally forgot about that. So Jazzy and Esteval, you now have you can mark an advancement point on your sheet. We can talk more about those later, but yeah, every time you roll a critical. Yeah. Fuck yeah. All right, roll damage, add the modifier, and then double the total. Non-zero chance you just kill this guy before he acts.
Oh, he's gone. That's 7. So 7 plus 8 is 15 times 2 is 30.
Oh, that's so bad. Oh my god, that's dirty. Yeah. What's the kill shot, man?
It's got to be through the neck. Like
Oh,
there's no
yeah.
armor there.
I imagine he's he's like roaring, like lifting his sword, like charging forward, ready to bring it down and gut Torben. When it just like goes like through his throat, like splatter of blood on the stonework out the back, clutching at it, sort of like blood gouting, just like coughing and sputtering. Sword falls and just like staggers back and hits the stones. At that exact moment, um, there is a thunderous crash coming from above, and you actually see that like the ceiling caves in a bit from a fire that was happening on another part of the fortress, and a massive timber falls, nearly crushing Demolay. Maybe so do like maybe like you're able to like push him out of the way a little bit, and like as you leap to safety, but as the timber slams down, it lands right on Demolay's one of his legs, and like cries out in pain, and groans and like curses in French. And with the door covered and the moment, like this moment of safety guaranteed, he just kind of like through the pain yells like, oh, I cannot lift it by myself. Help!
Esteval's right there, so I mean, he'll turn and try and get this thing off them.
Yeah, you can like put your hands under and begin to lift, and oh god, you cannot do this alone. Good thing you have friends. Do both Torben and Elia want to help with this, or is it just one of them?
Torben's gonna help.
Does Elia not lift?
Does he have the keys out already? Is the door open?
He seems to have found the right key as this happened. So like he is.
I'm an asshole. I'm gonna pick up the fucking key and open the door. Because he said whatever was in there is more important than the lives of our fellow knights, so it's sure as hell more important than his life. And I pick up the key and open the door.
Interesting. I love that. I like the idea that like, because obviously, I don't think that's in his hand. I think like when the beam fell, like he dropped it, the keys are out, and like because I don't think you could like snatch it out of his palm because but like I like the stinker.
It's not necessarily like I'm making a point and I want to be bitchy to you. It's like just literally like that's the mission you gave me, and that's what I'm gonna complete.
I see. All right, let's talk about how aid works then, because we got aiding on the table. And yes, you are welcome to exploit aiding as much as you can because it's there for that. So first of all, whenever you want to aid another Templar in a test, the supporting player must have at least +2 in the appropriate skill that's being used. I think it is reasonable to say that lifting a fallen beam is might plus athletics. It's literally lifting a massive heavy timber.
Could I then not help because I don't have athletics?
Well, you're not helping anyway because you said you were going for the keys.
Yeah, but just like if I said that I would have.
You would not be able to like effectively help mechanically if you didn't have at least a +2.
Yeah, great. Then I'm absolutely gonna stick with what I just said.
Totally.
Elia's like, nah, that ain't for me.
So Torben is the aiding Templar here. So I assume, Esteval, you want aid. You're not going to deny the option.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. We always want to determine like you have to at least have permission from the other person. But in the terms of aid, it has to be within a reasonable distance. Like, if you were helping a Templar like stalk a deer through the forest, you wouldn't need to be right next to each other. You could be more spaced out. But lifting a heavy timber, it's right then and there. And I'm reading from the rules here, when you are aiding or supporting an ally, you may choose to provide them with one of 3 benefits. I'll paste this in the Zoom chat. So effectively, if multiple Templars are aiding someone, you can get up to multiple benefits because it's 1 per person. The 3 benefits are: you may grant them advantage on their test. You may allow them to add your skill to the total result of the test up to a maximum +4. You may grant them 1 reroll on their test. So there are options. So Torben, you get to grant that to Esteval. And this is a difficult challenge. This is a heavy beam. So the difficulty is 21.
Torben probably should be actually leading this effort, but I just did it because I'm fictionally closer. But
so it's might and athletics. If I give you my athletic skill, it gets you the full +4. So
I only
That
see +3 athletics on your sheet.
right, but it adds to yours
Oh,
to a
got
maximum
it.
+4.
Yeah, I thought it replaced. Yeah, that
I
would give
will
me
also point out that
+3.
we have. Oh wait, no, you have a. You have. Oh well, I'm sorry. You have faith 0. You can't use faith points. I was about to point out the mechanics of faith points, and that's unfortunate. That's okay.
Grandmaster might not be getting out of here alive.
Oh,
I mean,
I'm fine with you swapping. By the way, if you would want to say like I think Torben takes point and I aid him, like I'm fine with you flipping things around. Unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to aid him though because I don't think you have an athletics of +2 or higher. So
that's actually true. I don't.
yeah. So yeah.
Oh boy.
but I'd be rolling a 6 to begin with because of the might and athletics.
Yeah, versus me starting with 2.
Yeah, and if I help you, it's still only 5.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we'll let Torben take the lead here, I think. And yeah, when Torben runs over, Esteval will step back and be like, all right, you take care of this.
Yeah, mechanically, because you don't have the minimum of +2, we don't trigger the mechanical aid, but narratively, it's still aiding him because you can't lift it alone, so it's
right.
acting together. Yeah.
You could be ready to drag the Grandmaster out.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, 100%.
So, difficulty 21.
Difficulty 21.
2d10 plus 6 is 21.
Holy shit. Okay. Like it is like I've seen those videos like Scandinavian powerlifters. It's like it's like the bulk and the squat and the lifting. As like you can hear the creak and the groan as you lift this heavy timber off of Desmoulins. And he's just like groaning out in pain from his leg. And Esteval, you're gonna help pull him out as well. As he gets out, the slam shut. Elia right behind the group taking the keys, and you had like hold them, and you one key out in particular, and you put it in the lock and you turn it, and it is correct. You hear the click, and as you begin to open the door, there is a commotion coming from the front of the chapel as another group of 3 of the heavily armored French knights are stumbling around, looking in, pointing and shouting out orders in French to seize Desmoulins and kill the Templars if they don't surrender. Desmoulins, who just got up from being half crushed by a timber, literally like shoves his hand up against Elia's back, like pushing you through the rest of the door as he grunts out like, "Good lad, not forgetting the mission," and like stumbles forward and very hastily is like, "Do not concern yourselves with them. Get inside now!" Gesturing to you two to get inside through the small door as the 3 knights are like rushing forward, swords drawn and shouting.
Could we try and drag him with us?
Or oh no, he's going in with you. He's going in with you.
He pushed me in.
He pushed Elliot in, is going through and is like yelling for you to get inside now.
Esteval gives like these little 2 like clicks, like and here comes little black cat like running along, probably like hopscotching along the pews if this is a chapel with pews, and like runs in between Esteval's legs and runs inside as Esteval gets inside.
Yeah, as the cat gets in, like runs past the floor, door is slammed. Desmoulins like roars out, like bar it shut, do not let them in. And this is a very like small, narrow, it's almost like a stone broom closet, really. It's like a little bit long, and there's some like wall hangings and like stuff like kind of, it's almost like this is just where like stuff from the chapel is stored. And you're trapped in here, but he yells at you to bar the door. Only one person can kind of like get there. It's a very narrow room. So which of you is taking point to bar the door? I would say it's again might plus athletics because you're holding it against the knights. It's going to be an opposed test. So I roll. And you're trying to beat whatever I roll. Which of you wants to be holding the door on the Grandmaster's orders?
I feel like this is an easy answer.
Yeah,
So
this feels like a
I always
This-
prompt it
Yeah.
Corbin.
It's obviously me.
It's obviously
No, yeah, it should absolutely be Torben.
That checks out. There's not room to aid, so we get to just do it as a roll off. So might plus athletics, and I'm going to roll for the French Knights. It's just going to be, they have a 2d10 plus 1. So I think you have a bit of an advantage here, Torben, numerically speaking.
8 and 9 plus 6 is 25.
Well, I got an 8 and 7 plus 1, so I think you best me. So it's real, like,
Okay.
hold the door, like, you know, you are just, when he says bar the door, what does that look like?
I think it's Torben is pressing himself up against the door. He's got his heels dug into the to the floor, and he's just bearing up against it.
Boom, boom, boom. They're shouldering into it. They're yelling. They're shouting. It's muffled, and you're holding it. And Desmoulins like gives you like this like nod of just of approval, and he just curses himself, saying, "Damn it all! Where is that infernal thing?" And begins to like fumble around the room, like shoves some like old like tarpaulins aside, and like, you know, pulls this just various implements, like an old like censer he discards. He goes, and feels along the wall and pushes a bit of the stonework, and a secret passage opens up as the stone grinds away, revealing a small flight of spiral steps that go down into darkness. He like limps forward and gestures you two, Estevao and Elia, towards the door, and he says, he looks at you, Torben, and says, "Hold the door. We will not leave you behind, but keep the French soldiers out. Do you understand?"
Yes. They won't
Good.
get past me.
"Good. You will not be long." And he begins to limp down the steps into the darkness.
I feel like the cat is outpacing Estevao to go into the secret area where people don't belong.
Yeah.
That
And
feels like
Elia.
a very cat thing.
And Elia following behind as well.
Yeah, I think I will also follow. There's not much, like the room is too small anyway to help. So yeah.
Yeah, Desmoulins like limps on his broken leg, but enters a small room, the secret space beneath the castle, it looks like, just teeming with papers, coins, and riches. Despite his injuries, he like, you know, limps over to this one alcove and quickly and like grabs a chest wrapped and locked with thick iron chains, and he shoves it towards you, Elia, into your hands, looking at you with his wild eyes, saying, "You must get this out of here. Take it to Lisbon. You will find friends of the Templar Order who can aid you. King Philip has betrayed us, and the future of our order is in jeopardy. Go! I cannot follow with my leg. The fate of the Templar Order rests on your shoulders now." And he points at a small tunnel leading out of the room and gestures towards a torch mounted on the wall.
Yeah, I think Elia, like as he said, like, you know, it rests on you now. There's almost like this like squaring of the shoulders, like, of course it rests on me. I was fucking born for this shit. There's like this like very heroic, like a nod, and it says, "I will not let you down." And I think I will sort of, I'm not looking what it is, not yet. We don't have time for that.
It's wrapped in chains too. You couldn't, yeah.
Yeah, I just start taking it and say, "France might have betrayed us this day, but the world will remember us."
He like nods and he turns to Estevao and gestures and he says, "Go. I will summon your comrade and send them to you, as well as buy you time. Even a wounded old man can hold a tunnel against 3 French knights." Spits on the ground and begins to limp back up the stairs. Upstairs, Torben, I need you to make another might plus athletics check against the French knights who are trying to break down the door.
That's 13 plus 6, 19.
I also rolled a 19. And oh my God. Hold on. Ties. Hold on. Oh yeah. So in ties, the character with the highest faith always wins. against non-Templar characters, this means Templar characters always win because enemies don't have a faith score. So even though you have a +0, you still win. So like they're trying to bust down the door, but you're holding it when you feel a hand on your shoulder. And you can see De Malay there with his eyes set and determined. He says, "Go now, find your friends, escape through the tunnel. I will keep this door."
I can carry you, master.
"No, that is an order. There's not time. I am wounded. Do you see my leg? There is not enough time to begin to plan. You 3 escape. I've given them your mission. Go. I will not go down without a fight."
Torben's going to, I think, take the Grandmaster's hand and say, "Die well," and then leave.
And he just kind of grunts and goes, "Not today." And as you go down the stairs, you see him like throw open the door and like yell, cursing out the soldiers in French. And he just runs out, like limps out really into the group of 3 French soldiers and just swinging his sword and closes the door behind him and is out of sight as you race down. And the 3 of you running through a tunnel, as you're racing out of it together, Elia clutching this heavily locked box, you emerge. You are deposited on the banks of the river that runs through Paris, the Seine. The sun is yet to rise, though its light is beginning to peek over the horizon. The flames of the burning Templar stronghold can be seen in the distance, and the cries of the city watch can be heard as the search for fleeing Knights Templar is beginning all over Paris. And that is the end of our first session of Heirs to Heresy, the Fall of the Knights Templar. Let's do Stars and Wishes, gang. Do that quite literally. I had a lot of fun. I really like these characters, and I think like an immediate star I just want to throw out there to you guys as players was the I mean, I expected this because I played with you guys before, but during the relationship building section, there was so much like admirable flexibility on display as you guys were spitballing ideas and like really, making even like, subtle adjustments, but like, there wasn't a lot of rigidity in that. And it was really cool just to see you guys bounce off of one another and flesh out these characters a bit more. I started Jazzy for that exact moment at the end there, where it was just like moments ago you were just being like, well, this guy, he clearly said the mission was more important. He gave you a fucking mission right in front of you, and he went, well, of course it's me, and immediately settled back into it. Love that moment. I can't.
Yeah,
wait
I mean,
to
if
see
I'm
Elia.
the important one, then obviously it's the correct mission.
Clearly, it rests on my shoulders. That was awesome. Kevin, started the cat. That is. Chef's kiss. I love the idea of just like the little clicks and just like weaving through pews and beneath French soldiers' feet, and this cat that's just surviving a fucking siege. That was great. And I love Torben. So I mean, I could start a lot of things. I'm going to leave a lot of it for y'all to discuss, so I don't take up too much time. Really liked the die well moment at the end there, and Torben's whole vibe and the whole idea of him being like friends with everyone. What a violent teddy bear of a man. And I guess like a star, just I'll say like I guess like a system star, like a session star from observing from this is my first time running this as a GM. I mean, I like how fast it was, and also really like that we didn't fuck around with combat. It's like my least favorite thing in tabletop games when it really just comes down to feeling like, all right, we just kind of like it's a war of attrition, chipping away, flow blows. It's like, no, you're kind of like sweeping through dudes, and you deal a lot of damage, and it felt nice. It didn't feel like, for a more traditional aspect of this role-playing game, like that was baked into the system, I kind of liked it. I had a good time with that. Whereas like normal traditional combat systems, I'm usually a little bit more like miss on. But I had a lot of fun. I really enjoy these characters, and I'm very interested to know where to go from here, because this is, after the scenario, it opens up. We'll talk a little bit about, things afterwards to help me like plan. But now it's truly like you have your mission. Still got to get out of Paris and navigate through the world. He told you to go to Lisbon, which is in Portugal. So, and so wishes. Yeah, I'm excited to explore more of these character dynamics. I'm interested to kind of to have you guys be off the rails now, because this was a very guided introductory scenario, and now fully, because I know you're all very creative people and really good improvisers. So getting to see the campaign take shape from your own ideas and how you guys approach and deal with things. It's more kind of like sandboxy in that way. So I'm very excited.
I'll go. I really enjoyed I enjoyed the peanut gallery in the chat. That was a lot of fun. It was absolutely hard trying to keep a straight face when Jazzy is saying fromage baguette. Uh, so that was a start. But in terms of the actual game itself, I thought this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the character creation. Those questions were really great at kind of getting into the heart of the characters and their connections to each other, and I really liked building that out with everyone. It felt very collaborative and fun. The game itself, the mechanics seem really accessible and quick, and I really like the just the idea of we don't have to worry about normal enemies. We can just mow them down. That's great, and I look forward to doing more of that. Uh, Stars in particular, I think Elia's like the attitude that you are imbuing him with is so good. Uh, Estevao is, I mean, you have the cat, and that's amazing. A wish before the star. We're going to Portugal, and I hope that brings up some things. That's going to be fun. I really enjoyed. Yeah, we have a Legolas, and the way that you described holding off the knights with the crossbow was great. And I I hope that's not the last we see of the Grandmaster, even if it's in flashback or memory. I want to know what's going on there. Good fun. Thanks for running this.
I'll actually say a historical note real quick. Desmoulins is actually, he survives
Yeah, he does.
for a little bit
For now.
longer,
For
for now.
A
But
little bit.
I can confirm that he's still alive. He did not just die then, because
But
historically,
whether we see him again.
exactly. But
Yeah.
I like the idea of doing flashbacks. That's fun.
hmm Yeah, stars. Yeah, then I love Torben. I really loved how that development went from just like, I want to be like a berserker, and then like with the questions, and then like how you played them, it became like a much kinder and like almost a subversion of what is initially what you think of with that kind of character, which I think is really, really cool. And I thought, yeah, we just got to see you in your element in this session, which is awesome. And a wish, I guess, is to see Torben out of his element. Like we saw you just mowing down dudes left and right, but presumably, we can't do that on the streets of friends and not draw attention to us, Like there's going to be more need for not immediately fucking killing everybody, which I think is going to be interesting. So that's sort of a wish, see Torben like cope with that. Um, for Kevin, yeah, I mean, obviously the cat is great. But um I just love like all of these like quiet, quick descriptions that you do of like how you're, like keeping an eye on Demole, how you were just like always like, yeah, I'm falling back and I'm observing the space and I'm doing all that. Like I just like having an archer type in a night game. Like that's just fun. It immediately kind of makes it more like fantasy-ish and like more adventure-like, which I think is very fun. And it brings like some diversity, like all of us just using the same weapons as our preferred weapons. So I thought that was cool. I loved your descriptions. Um, yeah, and I love how it kind of felt like you were just going along. So I guess a wish is to see Estevao like what's it gonna take for him to be like, this or that is my opinion, this or that is what we should do. Because they just sort of got thrown into this and now they're like, okay, I guess I'm here. Alex, I mean, Desmoulins was fucking awesome. Like those descriptions were so good. I love that you chose to have him like not just ignore that Elia picked up the key, but he was actually like, no, that was indeed the correct action. Like my life is not more important than the mission. And I think like just that simple line turned him from like what could have been like an arrogant asshole letting people die to like actually a man who's like genuinely like this is just that important, which I thought was a really like great way to do that. Also loved the adventure shot of the door closes, we don't see what happens, which is general code for he survives for at least a little bit longer. um, that was great. Yeah, wishes. Yeah, I'm interested to see how sandboxy it is, like how loose it is, what a session after this is going to feel like. I already have some ideas of what Elia might propose that we do. But yeah, in general, it's just more tests, more different scenarios, and I'm very interested to see what this is.
And I'll land the plane. Yeah. This start of the system, because I feel like this had a real Three Musketeers vibe to it, in a really fun kind of pulpy adventure kind of way. I don't know if that's what the writer intended, but certainly that's how this first kind of setup felt, and it's a really fun style and vibe, and so I hope to see more of that. And yeah, having a big giant wall of meat like Torben is just really fun, both because it lets those challenges be a cakewalk, but also it allows for that sort of deeper things going on beneath the surface. That's really fun. So, star and a wish for Torben. I can't wait to see more of that going forward. Elia taking the keys, and that being like the right call, both to Alex and Jazzy. That was a really cool, like, a subversion of tropes where it's like, I'm here to help people and do all the right things, and it's like the right thing is not always the one that saves lives, well, the immediate saving of life. So I kind of hope for more situations like that where the right answer is not always the most obvious or the most feel goody one. And yeah, so I mean, obviously, if I'm going to introduce a cat, we're going to use the cat. It's Chekhov's cat. So I'm of course my wish is going to be like, finding cool things to do with the cat. But without it being a hindrance, like, oh gosh, we've got to leave the cat behind, would be absolutely heartbreaking. So yeah. And then of course this is more of a long-term wish, but just to get it on recording, though it's stranger to no one, seeing the more mystical elements and seeing like our vision, because we're starting from a place that looked very similar to what we think might have historically been our world, watching these characters go through situations where things don't add up anymore, things don't make sense anymore, where the mysticism starts to challenge their notion of reality, I think is going to be really fun for me. So and I think that's what I got.
Awesome. Any other stars or wishes?
No, I'll paint it. I'll type it in the chat because it's a short one.
Oh, go
and
for
Ben
it.
needs to go. I think so. I think that's why we were ending early, because you have another game. Well, my long-term wish is basically, yeah, my long-term wish is I really want to see more about Elia's family and why they were targeted. Because I left it like kind of open, like, oh, there's like political things, but I think it would be very interesting if we sort of discover that there might have been more to it. And it was like a very like they could have targeted any family, but they targeted the Beaumains. And maybe even why my father sent me to the Knight Templars. Maybe it wasn't just, I don't know, this is the only thing I can do. Maybe it was far more planned and far reaching than just that, which I think could be interesting.
I'm thinking, and I can't wait to talk with you about that.
I guess I have one more other sort of long-term wish.
Yeah.
Would be there's a note in the book about you can't talk about the Templars without talking about the assassins. But like as a general style note, smashing faces is super fun, but this game feels like it really has the potential for some of that skullduggery, not exactly the term or word I'm looking for, but some of that like operating just underneath the surface of society. And this feels like it's almost designed to facilitate the transition of the Templars from this open, proud knightly order to that operating underneath, the levels of society, underneath the surface of society.
It's funny that you bring that up, because the supplemental book Faith and Fear adds mechanics for the Templar spy networks that you guys have access to. So that'll be fun to talk about as they show up. So yeah, I'm all in. Yeah.
If we're gonna do like Dumas, style Three Musketeers, like any kind of like cloak and dagger, spy network, all kinds of fun stuff opens up there. So yeah, I'm super into that.
Hell yeah. Well, then, if that's everyone and everything you want to say, I will bring the recording to a close.